Hello everyone. Today we are making Tomatillo Salsa. The recipe that I'm using is the Tomatillo Salsa recipe in the Ball Complete Book of Home Preserving. So the first thing that you do is you take off the outer husk and you'll wash all of them. They'll have a little sticky residue on them. That's completely normal. So once you wash them, you're going to cut out the core and then you're going to chop them up. You can see that there's kind of a bad spot here and you want to just cut off any bad spots on the tomatillo. Looks pretty nasty, but you can see that it comes right off. So you would just wash that off. Okay, so now let's get into the recipe. The recipe calls for 5½ cups chopped, cored, husked tomatillos. That's what I have here. I have 5½ cups of tomatillos that I've processed. And the next thing that it calls for is 1 cup of chopped onion. And then it calls for 1 cup of chopped seeded green chili peppers. So I am using jalapeno. It said seeded and I left the seeds in one. Okay, you can see that I've added the jalapenos to the pot. So we've got so far the tomatillos, 5½ cups of chopped tomatillos, a cup of chopped onion, and a cup of diced jalapenos, a seed removed if you don't like the heat, or you can leave some of the seeds in or use a different type of pepper. Okay, now the next thing is we're going to add in ½ cup of white vinegar, 4 tablespoons of lime juice, four cloves of chopped garlic. Then it calls for 2 tablespoons finely chopped cilantro. Now we love cilantro, so I'm putting basically a whole bunch of cilantro in, just using the top part, and I didn't chop it real finely. But you don't want to stray too far from a canning, especially a water bath canning recipe, which this is, because of the acid level, but I think a little bit of extra cilantro is not going to hurt. Then you need 2 teaspoons of ground cumin. There's 1 teaspoon. And there's the other teaspoon. ½ teaspoon of salt. And ½ teaspoon of red pepper flakes. I'm a little tempted to leave out the red pepper flakes since I left in some jalapeno, but again, my family kind of likes the spice, so I think that it'll be fine to go ahead and add in the red pepper flakes. Okay, now reading the instructions, it says prepare the canner, jars, and lids. I have my jars in my Instant Pot just to get them hot. I just use the saute setting and put water in. Then it says in a large stainless steel saucepan, combine all of the things that I've just combined, that I just showed you. Bring to a boil over medium-high heat, stirring constantly. Reduce heat and boil gently, stirring frequently for 10 minutes. Okay, as you can see, I brought it to a boil. Now I'm going to reduce the heat and simmer it for 10 minutes. The salsa has been simmering for 10 minutes. So now I'm going to ladle it into the jars, and move you over where you can see. These are hot jars, and obviously the salsa is very hot. So I'm just going to use the ladle to put in approximately up to the rim. I'll go back and I'll add more in if need be. Let me go ahead and debubble these and see if I need to add any onto them. I have a paper towel with some vinegar. I'm wiping the rims. This is just to make sure that you get a good seal, that there's not any debris. And now that I look at this, I want to put just a teeny bit more in there. And I'm going to debubble. Wipe the rims. Put the rings on. Fingertip tight. I'm going to use one more of my regular ball lids, and then the other two I'm going to use my Harvest Guard lids, and those will be for my family. Guard lids are a little bit different than your ball curd lids. They're two pieces. You've got the lid and you've got a gasket. I have had these in hot water along with the jars because that's essential for these. You no longer have to heat the ball / curd lids, but you do need to heat these Harvest Guard lids. And so you put the lid on, you center it, put the rim on, and then notice I'm putting my finger here. I'm just doing it until the jar starts to spin, okay, and that is tight enough. Okay, now all of the jars are in the canner. You can't see all of them from this angle, but you can see that they're in the canner. Now I'm going to add hot water to the canner. Again, hot product, hot jars, hot water in the canner. If you were filling your jars with cold, you would use cold jars and cold water or room temperature water. But I am using all hot in this recipe. Now, with water bath canning, you have to come above the jars by at least an inch or two. And you can see they are not completely covered. So I'm going to use the water that I heated the jars in. So I'm gonna just use that to cover the lids all the way. So I've got about 1.5 inches above the lids. Okay, I just plugged in my canner. You can see that it's lit up. And I'm going to turn the lid down and switch it to the exhaust position. You always start off, even if you're pressure canning, you start in the exhaust position. Since I'm water bath canning, it will be in the exhaust position the whole time. And then I'm going to move the lid to the closed position. So over on the side it says closed, and I just moved it to the closed position. Okay, now I'm going to select water bath steam, and according to the ball book, this recipe should be processed for 15 minutes, but because of my altitude, I'm adding 5 minutes on. So I'm going to do 20 minutes and pressing start. So what's happening now is it is going around and around, waiting for the heat in the canner, the water in the canner to heat up. So we're looking for a steady stream of steam. Once that happens, I will press the start button and it will start to do the 20-minute countdown. I'll bring you back at that time. Okay, there is now a steady stream of steam. I don't know if you can see it, but you can probably hear it. So once that happens, I'm going back down and I'm pressing start. And now you'll notice that it's 20 minutes. The countdown will begin at this point, and then once it counts all the way down, there might be a little pressure built up. If there is, I'll let it release and then open the canner. I'll keep the lid open for about 5 minutes before removing the jars, and I'll bring you back at that time. Okay, it's been counting down. You can hear that it's still, the exhaust is still going out, the steam is still shooting out, and the 20 minutes is about done. So I want to turn my camera back on so that I could capture the very end of the process. Okay, you can hear it beeping, it's showing off. I'm going to unplug the canner at this time. And I'm going to let it sit for about 5 minutes before I take the jars out, just to let them come down off of temperature a little bit gradually. Okay, so this is actually the second batch of salsa that I ran. I had 4 more jars that didn't fit in the first time, so I processed them now, and I just opened the lid to the canner 5 minutes ago, and I'm going to take them out. And first I want to say, oh, this is dripping like crazy. This one I'm going to put over in the front just so I don't forget forget which one it is because, go ahead and move this down here. This one was a little bit tipped over, so it may not seal. We'll see. Okay, now you'll notice that 3 of the ones that I took out are harvest guard lids. I'm going to wait just a few minutes and then I will tighten the rings on those. So I have another video where I show you that, and I'll leave a link for it. I show you the whole process of how to use the harvest guard lids. But anyway, after just a few minutes, I will just, everything's of course extremely hot, so I'll just be holding on to the jar with the pot holder and tightening the lids. Well, it is now the next morning, and I wanted to show you what I ended up with. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of these wide mouth half pints and 1 regular mouth half pint. So I ended up with 8 half pints. This represents one that did not seal. It hadn't siphoned or anything like that, but just when I checked it, it hadn't sealed. So I put a regular lid on it and I put that one in the fridge. So overall, I'm pleased, very pleased. I'm not happy that one, didn't seal. I always prefer, obviously, that everyone seals. But really, this was not bad at all, and I'll enjoy eating the one that didn't seal. So some of these I will be giving as gifts. So I'm excited to give this a try. I hope that you'll try it as well. And if you liked this video, I would definitely appreciate that you like the video and that you subscribe to my channel. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day.